Welcome guys, and in today's video I want to take you through the process as I tattoo the Mad Hatter. We're going to be going through everything we've already talked about in one video. So we're going to put in our black, we're going to do a bunch of light shading, and we're going to do a little bit of white highlights. I'm also going to be narrating from the bottom, letting you guys know everything that I'm doing, when I'm doing it, if I think it's important. So if you guys are ready for that, then let's go. And here we're diving right in. I'm putting my black in. I'm not gonna bore you guys too much with this, so I'll speed it up a little bit. But I'm going around all these little bits down here that are part of the bow, leaving them open skin for now, and I'm gonna go back and shade those a little bit after I'm done working this bottom section right here. At the current moment, I'm using a 3-round liner, tight, and just kind of working a little bit of the details in here. And here I am back using that 11 curved bug pin magnum, and still just going around all the little pieces on the bow, and then I'll start moving my way up the side of the face there. While one side of the face is very dark, the other side is still dark but not as dark. This is sped up about 5 times fast. Right here, I'm currently using a 23 curved bug pin magnum. It just works great in these larger areas if you gotta fill it black. It's just like a bigger paintbrush, a bigger stroke. When you're making those small little circles, it's just getting a lot more done in a shorter amount of time. And over here, you could line that side of the face or jaw, but for me, I just took that 11 mag and just gently walked it along that edge, pretty much forming it and giving myself just a little bit of space, like a blackness about this thick. So now I can just go in and fill it in, not have to worry about getting too close to the face while filling it in black. And here we're jumping into the lips. Again, I'm looking at that reference. You guys can see that reference, and I'm just trying to follow it to the best I can. Now the lips, they're quite small and there's a little bit of detail in them, so I'm using a 3-round liner and just putting dark where I see it dark, a little bit of lighter, a little lighter in lighter areas, and where it is really light, you can leave that skin and let you can come back later and put highlights in there if you'd like, and it'll pop a little bit more. I left a lot of this real time so that way you could really just sort of watch what's happening. I do jump around here and there, so you're not going to see every detail, but I just wanted to keep it real time for most of this so we can take it all in together. Now, when I'm working with 3-round liners, I tend to throw them out outside the tube a lot further than I would other liners or other mags or various things like that, because when I'm using a 3-round liner, I'm trying to be precise. I don't want any ink pooling. I mean, it's gonna happen from time to time, but I wanna have full identification on those needles at all times. I'm using it as precisely as I can. Sorry we missed the little bit of the lips. You'll see more of that later, but we're jumping up here to the eye, and I'm really just following my reference. I'm looking at it. I know that wherever it's fully purple here, I'm going to make black, but I'm also being mindful of how the whole eye looks as a whole. And when tattooing, if you can get away with dabbing when you can, just dabbing the ink off, do that. It actually absorbs it quicker, or at least dab it and then wipe it. It will help a lot. Now again, this is straight black that I'm using right now, putting the darkest in first. And then I go up here to the eyebrows. They're really wild eyebrows. So what I wanted to do is just get a whole lot of texture in there by using that 3 to just make that movement, make the movement of the hair, and then kind of cross hatch it with a lighter shade or a mid shade. And when that heals, you're going to get a little bit of actual what looks like maybe little eyebrows or pieces of hair. So I'm still using that 3, and I'm using some lighter shades as I go around the eye. Right now I'm on like my lightest shade, as I'm just trying to almost shape the area that I want to work in first with those light tones, and then build them up a little bit where I want it a bit darker. But it's definitely more comforting to use those lighter shades, even when the area itself is eventually going to be darker than that light shade, but it still just helps you see it, and then you can kind of start building these things up a little bit. And it's just easier, and you don't have to worry about like being so bold with the color right in the eye. The ultimate goal here is to keep the little eyebrows or lashes, whatever they are. I want to keep them light because he has like white eyelashes, so we want to keep them light, nothing in there really, just really try to shape those so we can come back later with some white and pop them a little bit. So now I'm just kind of working the lid of the eye, the bottom portion of it. Just putting a little bit of grayer, lighter tones up close to that black, so it's not just skin, so it has some sort of a blend in it. I'm just trying to follow the stencil the best that I can. So now I have like my lightest tone, and I'm going into the white of the eyes and just shading, you know, the corners there where there's not as much light in it, hitting it where the eye's not as white, if you will. And I do that on both sides just a little bit, leaving a little spot for maybe a highlight here or there. And again, when you're working in these super light tones, it's okay and understandable if you have to go over it a few times. You're building it up, you're not being harsh on the skins, kind of gentle, but it's still, the ink is still going where it needs to go. So it can be confusing when trying to shade light. You still need those needles to go where they need to go. It's just how forceful are you putting it in there? Are you a little here, a little here, a little build up, or are you just driving them in there and like one pass in it? There's times when you need to do that, and there's times when you want to build it up. So when I say be gentle, I mean just take your time a little bit. Don't force it all the way in one swift go. Build them up. And over here, I'm working in the other eye. It's much darker over in this area, so I'm just carrying that black over. I'm using that 3-round liner as well. You could use the 11, you could use various different things. I believe I'm just using the 3 because it was still in the machine and I still need it to work the details around that eye. Now I'm working really slowly here. I'm not in any rush. I'm just referring to that reference as often as I can to kind of see what's going on as I work through this. And I'm pretty much doing the same thing over here that I was doing on the other eye, and that is just putting my black in first and forming the bits that I need to be left open. And you can form those open bits by, well, shaping them using whatever shade is behind them or around them. So I jump back in with that 11 curved bug pin magnum, and I'm just starting to shape the nose a little bit, the top of the head where it meets the brim of the hat. It's still pretty dark up there, so I start with the lighter shade first, and then I will go back and fill them in. Kind of connect that lighter shade with that mid shade so that it can attach to the black, if you will. Kind of a weird way to put it. So there's the lighter bit. And then here's where I just kind of try to blend those two together. Now here on the nose, I really, again, take my time. I'm using my lightest shade possible. It's a 1 drop. And at times I will even take that 1 drop and dip it in a little bit of water if I want it really light. And a lot of times that's just me shaping things first with that really, really light shade, and then just slowly building that light shade up. And it doesn't take too much to build those shades up. Now here you see I'm doing a backstroke, so I'm pulling back on the mag like this. That's going to give you a little softer shading. If you wanted it to be darker, you could take the machine up top and push it. That's going to give you a little bit more penetration of those needles. But when you're doing a back pull, it's less. So if you want a softer shading, you can always whip it backwards. And down here, again, just working the face, trying to very gently and slowly build up the shade on that side of the face. Now sometimes you'll be using that really light tone, you'll go over a spot, you won't see the ink go in, and you'll wipe it away, be like, what the heck? Well, do it again, make sure you have that light tone on, in your needle, and push a little bit harder, okay? Slow your hand down a little bit more. It's not that the ink's not going in, you might just be going a little too fast. So slow it down a little bit, and just keep being patient and building those up. Now in these moments, I'm trying to figure out what it is I'm gonna do next, what it is I'm looking at, where do I want it to be a little darker. So that's why you'll kind of touch an area while you're looking at everything else, kind of make this area a little bit darker while looking at everything. You kind of bounce around here because I'm getting close to being done on the face for now. And here we go, we're into the hair. Now I spared you a little bit of watching me just, put bulk color in, but over here it is a lot of black, but I left a lot of openings so I can put like 50% shades in there. We can put 25 so we can build a little bit of like volume in the hair, or different parts of the hair, so it's not just black. The other side is dark, that's our darkest side. This side we're gonna leave spots even open for a little bit of highlights here and there, but relatively it's still going to be dark. It's just going to have some gradients to it, which should make it much better than just being black. And then we jump up to the top here. We're working in the hat. Now I'm gonna start putting my black in this hat. So as you can see, even parts of my stencil, if you watch, I'm gonna be pretty much filling in those areas, creating a border around everything that I need to fill in black, and kind of making decisions, because I don't just want to hard line and shade exact spots where it's black. It's black there, but it also kind of blends out of black. So I want to kind of shade it like that. I don't just want to go in and line that area and then just fill it all in black, because you always kind of have that lined area and it'll kind of pop out. Again, over here on the back side, you can see I'm still kind of going around that area. And then I'm just gonna go in there with that fat mag, that 23, once I'm done here, and fill it in. And here we go, we're filling it in. Now again, this is 5 times fast, so you can get a feel. I'm not moving terribly fast, nice small circles, but you're just filling a larger area. So here we jump back in. I've been put a little bit of shading up in the areas that we left open after we filled in our black. And I'm just trying to work it, look at the picture, kind of work darks, work a little lights, you know. If you're going from dark to light, make sure you rinse your needles out. And then we jump up to the top where I'm pretty much doing the same thing. I'm using my mag and just kind of like lining it as I go and filling down, line kind of fill down like this. So again, I'm creating this barrier, this area where I can then fill in black and kind of leave the center a little lighter so that because the light is sort of hitting it. Now I didn't leave it super light, I left it just like a shade down from black in the middle there. Now we jump in for our highlights. I'm using the 3-round liner, straight white right now, Star Bright white, which I've been using lately and I really like it. So if you're looking for a white and you haven't tried Star Bright, give it a go. You guys have been telling me to try it out, so I did. I'm liking it. It's so bright that at times I literally do water it down. I'll have to dip it in some water if I want to get areas not super bright. So in my opinion, that makes for a good white. It seems to hold really well as well. Nonetheless, using that 3-round liner, some white, I'm just going through and highlighting those areas I left open. Again, he has white eyelashes, so it was important that I made sure I got white in there. Yeah, and it helps pop out that little center of the eyes, because you know most pictures in the eyes, there's always a reflection in there. That's what that white bit is. And again, you can leave that open, but if you put a little white in there, it pops it a lot more. I personally don't like a lot of white in my work, but I do like using white where I feel like I really want to draw attention to, or the areas that just really need it. But we don't necessarily go over it here, but I put some white in the hair, a little bit down in the bow, a touch here or there in the hat, not much at all. And if there is an area where you don't want it super bright white, again, dip it into a cup of water. Make sure it's a clean cup of water, not your wash cup. But I usually get an extra cap when I get to white, like 2 extra little caps. Just put a little distilled water in there. And if I want my white a little lighter, I just dip it in some water. And then I jump down here to the lips and the teeth, and the teeth are an important part. They're white. We should probably put a little white in there, a little white in the lips. And here's the final piece, guys. You can kind of see all of it together. Well, I just want to say thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. I hope you learned something from it. And if you did, give it a like. Subscribe if you haven't already. Check out the merch. Link in the description if you want to support the channel some more. But by no means is it necessary. And don't forget to ring the bell to get notifications when I post, when I go live, for anything. I know YouTube doesn't let people know when I go live, so ring the bell if you want that. Until next time, guys, peace.